With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Welcome to Tunnel Talk, a No Facts, All Feelings wrestling podcast on the Social Suplex Network. I'm Allie.
I'm Ann.
And I'm Leah.
How's everybody doing this week? How are my girls?
Now, Allie, are we switching to a WWE podcast now?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, it's our favorite promotion now, of course.
Yeah.
What did we love the most about it, Ann? We loved kind of that slick glitz.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think the entrance length really gives you time to think about your own life and, kind of like, your mortality, like your relationship to your parents, kind of your, all your unhealed emotional wounds.
Reimagining WWE as that Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy chamber that you go into and you just think about where you are in the universe and you can perceive it and it breaks your brain. That might explain a little bit about WWE.
It just makes you want to cheer indiscriminately. Yeah.
That's the psychosis. Well, for those who don't know, Leah made this little jest because Ann and I were really excited to be guests on One Nation Radio this week to give our impressions of the Royal Rumble. And in order to do so, we watched the Royal Rumble, WWE, as Ann reminded me, premium live event. So we encourage you to go check that out. We did have a great time not enjoying the product. We were grateful to find out that we're not WWE fans.
Yeah, it was quite a relief because, of course, you never know when you get in.
Yeah, I mean, I was nervous. I was like, what am I going to come home to?
Welcome home, cheater. Leah on the pod this week.
It's like we all live in one house and sleep in like a 3-tier bunk bed,
Leah shorted our sheets. She's furious with us. Leah, if we got really into WWE, would you join us?
I don't know, because I was in a really bad mood last week. So when O&R asked us to do this, I was just like, I'm not doing that. So if you'd gotten into WWE last week, I wouldn't have gotten into it out of sheer spite at the universe. Yeah. But this week I'm in a better mood. So I don't know, maybe.
Wow.
Whatever my girls are doing, maybe I'll do it. I don't know.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, I like that more than the idea of last week where you, out of spite, never join us being WWE fans. Although, to be super clear, again, we didn't like it. We didn't have a good time. We had kind of a good time making fun of it.
But not because of WWE.
No.
Yeah. And because we like to challenge our little minds. We like to have an anthropological experience.
That's true,
See what's out there.
We got to do lots of like comparison stuff, like, this is how we do it at our Trash Junkyard promotion, but this is how they do it at WWE. We got to do Wife Watch 2025, my favorite activity of the year. And I knew, guys, not to brag, but I knew so many wives.
It was crazy how many wives she knew. It was just like, wife, that's a wife. Never seen anything like it.
And I did keep saying, am I a misogynist? I have to stop framing these women as wives. They're at work. But I just happened to know who they were all married to. And then I also knew, well, I didn't know it. It was my funniest joke was saying that Paul Heyman was Roman Reigns.
You also knew.
I don't remember why. Anyway, go check us out on this week's O&R, and then afterwards, I believe they discussed the Luca trade news, which we knew a lot about, but we just decided to let them do their thing, and so we stepped out.
We didn't want to kind of overwhelm them with our knowledge, I thought, let the boys have their takes,
Yeah, we knew we would be the loudest voices in the room, so we said, to be polite, let's just remove ourselves.
I have, through no fault of my own, acquired a certain amount of people around me that were talking about Luca. And so I had read opinions elsewhere, but I listened to O&R, not that night. I went to bed when you guys finished, but I listened to the podcast the next day, and I was really entertained that Rich's position on the subject seemed to be great. That's dramatic. It makes no sense. It's fun to experience. I love mess.
I think that's the perfect place to be with news like that. Is if you don't feel emotionally impacted by it in a bad way, you can just be like, wow, this is bug fuck. Mm-hmm. Well, it's sleepy February. We're all just getting by. Any exciting February updates, girls, before we get into the wrestling?
Do you guys see my disgusting cold sore?
I'm really sorry.
Oh, wow.
That sucks.
Yeah. That's rough.
That's really rough.
Yeah.
That's kind of a bummer update.
Well, that's what I had. You asked me for my updates. You didn't say it had to be a cheerful one.
I didn't mean to criticize.
Getting a lot of tough feedback from you lately.
Wow.
I don't think so. What other tough feedback did I give you?
Last week you were like, tone.
Oh, yeah. But I think also last week or the week before I told you how beautiful your haircut is. And I really thought it again. And then I thought, don't be crazy, Allie. She already heard that she has a nice haircut. So I think I've given you some pretty nice feedback, too.
That's true.
Wow.
I have a hard time because I got this haircut. I went to a new hairdresser and we had a long conversation about the length that I wanted. And we were clicking on the same page. This is what's going to happen. And then he cut it about 3 inches shorter than that.
That's what they always do.
I was like, you bastard.
I think that hairdressers have, it's like beer goggles, basically. Like they measure length differently than we do.
Yeah.
I've been growing my hair out for I don't know, I think 4 years now. And
curly hair takes so long to grow out. It's crazy.
It takes so long to grow out. And I had to stop going to my hairdresser, who I otherwise liked. She was giving me nice haircuts, but I went in every single time and I was like, please, I'm just trying to grow this out really long to my butt. So please just take the absolute minimum length that you can. And she said that she would, but it's like my hair didn't grow for 3 years. So I just had to stop. I was like, okay, well, unfortunately, I can't come see you anymore now. I'm just going to have to do what I've always done, which is not get a haircut for 2 years. And then I'll go in and they'll take off a lot, but it won't be nearly as much as you took off telling me that that's how to grow my hair out healthy. It wasn't getting longer.
No. Yeah.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough, yeah.
They get back there and they're like, I could do anything. And then they do.
Poor friend of the pod, Anna, was really on one for the past, I don't know, couple months or something. She's like, I'm into Great Clips now. I go to Great Clips and you get a really cheap haircut and it's amazing. I love Great Clips. And then a couple nights ago, we got a text from her being like, went to Great Clips and something horrible happened to me. She was like,
when you play with fire,
I know you're gonna get burned. She was like, he got in there and he was like, someone gave you a U-shaped haircut, and then he made 3 big cuts, and then he said, he said something like, I've done something a little Cavalier, and that was the end of the haircut. And we saw the picture and we were like, it's kind of 2 different blunt lengths I see. Like they're just kind of like not the same length, like really obviously. And
I'm gonna just start saying I've done something kind of Cavalier, just like whenever I do anything crazy. It's like, it's gonna be my new, I've made a huge mistake. Well,
it's such a great little, it does sound like something that someone learned in therapy, where the therapist is like, let's reframe, like, I've made a big mistake, like, let's try to be kind to ourselves and say, I've done something a bit Cavalier.
Also, I had a friend who made this joke probably 20 years ago, and for some reason, it's not even that good a joke, but it's just really stuck with me. He was like, yeah, I went to Supercuts for a haircut, or as I now call it, cuts. Amazing.
That's like a Mitch Hedberg joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. That was really good. That was really good job, guys. I'm feeling better already. February, you're fucked. Because I have my fun podcast with my friends.
No match for this podcast.
Do you think your good feeling is because of our great conversation or the red wine you're in the middle of?
I barely really gotten into the red wine, although I'm glad that you're pointing it out to the listeners that I've made this deranged little decision.
Allie's substance watch, we just have like at the front of every podcast episode.
People like to know exactly how I've been compromised.
Right. What are we into? How deep?
Listeners, let us know if I got on the pod and I disclosed this, like, I've done something a bit cavalier. I had this open bottle of red wine, so I'm drinking it while podcasting. And then immediately after disclosing it, I was like, well, it's wine is wine, and alcohol is alcohol. Like, is it that weird that I'm drinking red wine while podcasting? And it was like, yes, absolutely. It's absolutely crazy. It's a crazy thing to do.
Right? It's not.
Not really, because we used to do it all the time.
Yeah, we do.
I'm
not red. More compromise on red wine.
It's not insane for any of us to be nursing a drink while we're podcasting. It's just the energy into which you were like, I've got red wine. That I was like, okay, well.
That's true.
Now it's a warning. I was saying, like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm taking off an article of clothing right now. Like, that's the vibe. I'm already too hot to podcast.
Wow. Too hot to podcast. Title of episode.
Okay, let's get to the wrestling before God knows what happens to me. This week, Adam Copeland hung a little lampshade on the Deathriders storyline on Collision, cutting this promo where he said, "What's your plan, Moxley? I don't know. Our audience doesn't know. Everyone seems to be confused. Hell, I don't think you know. I think you're just one of those guys who likes to shout at crowds, a malcontent." It's kind of a little bit of a punk call-out vibe there.
Is that a type of guy who likes to shout at crowds?
CM Punk was never really the one that I came up with. He did call Mox kid repeatedly and was like, I don't know why you're hiding the title when we literally just got on a new network, so it's not really an optimal time synergistically for you to not be sharing the title. It was kind of like, oh, this is a little inside baseball.
When you're on that new network, they're going to want to see that title. They've never seen a belt before.
It's like, guys, this is locker room talk again. Take this backstage.
Every single bit of that promo was like, do you want to like pretend wrestling is fake a little bit for me?
I swear, like, the longer I watch wrestling, the more I get like, please protect the business, like a little bit. My God.
Are we playing pretend here or what?
Yeah, I just want to go into my little pretend world where we're not talking about ratings and what the audience thinks. Come on.
Many, I think, are not sure whether we're playing pretend or not. I didn't super care. I like the delivery of this promo was fine, but the content of this promo, as with most of the Deathriders promos on both sides now, I'm like, guys, I don't know what we're talking about. I literally don't know what we're arguing about. I don't know what Mox wants, but Cope, I don't know what you want either. I don't know what you think Mox wants. I don't know what you're responding to. I don't know what anybody is talking about here.
Yeah. And there is a way to like signal in a promo that you've heard the criticism and kind of address it, but also still play within the space. When you just repeat, and MJF is really guilty of this a lot. Yeah. When you just repeat word for word what people are saying, that's nothing. That doesn't help. So don't just say, "Hey, Mox, I think your storyline's convoluted, and it seems like you've booked yourself into a corner."
It is crazy because it's like, yeah, like it's not clear at all what Copeland wants. So it's like Moxley has like taken over the promotion, but Copeland is mad that he's not being synergistic enough with the network. Like,
well, and he just went down that whole rabbit hole of being like, and back when it was my age, we respected our elders because we knew that they had made the business better for us. And it's like, I didn't know that any of this was about respecting or not respecting your elders. I think it was supposed to be about respecting your youngers at one point, but now all the youngers have disappeared. I don't know where they are. I know Danny Garcia was on Collision, but we're missing a lot of our youngers. I didn't know that any of this was supposed to be about that.
Well, it wasn't. Like at the very beginning of it, Mox was like, no more silly shit. No more smiling. No more happiness. No more dancing. We are only doing violence. Yeah. We are only committing crimes. This is what wrestling should be. We're not having fun. And then instead of engaging in that, they were just like, well, I love what you're saying, but I wish you weren't saying it to me.
That's true. That is why Dax agrees with them. I had kind of forgotten about that. That Dax is like, I agree. No silly shit. We want serious scraps. We want just men being men the way they used to be together, and nobody said weird stuff about it. Well, we've gone down our own little rabbit hole here. What, Ann?
Oh, I was just going to say, this is a side note, but my impression of the generation that went before Cope was not that they were making the business better for anyone behind them. Right?
No.
So, interesting.
Definitely not the impression I got from our conversation about old men on ONR this week.
I also think that we really need to talk about Cope's biggest crime, which is that I don't find him attractive anymore because that hair makes me so angry.
It's so bad. What is he doing? Why is it like that?
He's growing it out kind of like a lion's mane. Do you think he has? Does it all come back to is it the Emmys again? Is it like about a look that he's working on for the Emmys?
It's not a good one, if so.
I don't know. Maybe he has a vision that we just haven't
get past this point, and it's going to be so beautiful.
I want to send
when
him.
When are the Emmys?
I want to send him to me and Allie's hairdresser, where they're like, "Yeah, no, I'll see what you're doing, and definitely I'll help you grow it out," and then they just cut it off.
Go to Great Cuts. Hey, go to Great Cuts. You're gonna love what they get up to there. Let them do something a bit Cavalier. I liked Leah. When we were watching, Leah just said, "I want to be allowed to shave him," and I was like your cat. Like when your cat gets poop on her butt and you have to shave her little butt. And then I was just imagining you like pinning Adam Copeland down and being like, "This is for your own good."
Do you think I want to be doing this? Is not what I want to be doing. If you just took care of yourself, we wouldn't have to suffer these indignities.
It's all happening in your bathtub. So that's always an option. Cope, reach out anytime, and we'd be happy to shave you in a bathtub.
Pin you down while you
really good at it. To be honest, I am so good at shaving cat butts now. So Cope, call me.
You could just wrap Cope in a little towel and just go to
might
town.
Need to be a pretty big towel, Ann. Might need to be a beach towel.
A bath sheet.
A bath
extra
sheet,
large.
Yeah. And I have to imagine that he would fight the way the cat does too. Like even if he has, in this scenario, he's DM'd us and been like, I accept that this has to happen.
He's like, I do need help. I need help.
I need you guys to shave me. But his body is still like, no, get off. No, I need it. I love this hair.
Because the problem is he keeps going to Great Cuts, but they won't hold him down. Like when he starts fighting it, he just runs out the door and they're like, well, I mean, what can you do?
He slinks back in. He's like, I asked for it. They're like, sir, you did not. It did not seem consensual. It did not seem consensual.
Great Cuts is all about consent, so
of course. Oh, that's their number one philosophy. Yeah. Okay, what else happened? Cope challenged Mox to a match at Revolution for the belt. The FTR versus Mox and Yuta Mid-South street fight main evented. There was some interference. There were some runouts. Claudio Castagnoli ran in to help his king. You know what I mean. Cope and Jay White also joined the fray. FTR won the match. I had this little note from Manolo. Had a great idea this week. He said, Moxley is tough, but he might not have the brains for an operation of this scale. No, we don't know what the operation is. We barely know what the scale is. He says, the Deathriders need to recruit, willingly or kidnap, a master tactician to game plan these scenarios for total victory. And I said, Manolo, I, for a change, really like the way you're thinking.
That's such a good idea, and I'm obsessed with, like, them kidnapping, like, I don't, like, the problem is that, like, to be like, who's the smart one on the AEW roster, it's tough.
We've tried to find one before, come up empty-handed.
Came up with Jay White, like, okay, so you kidnap Jay White, and you're like, all right, so, Jay, what do we do next?
Well, and I'm kind of imagining it now, like, it's like, maybe Mox was just being like, we need someone who can stop this from happening. And Claudio, who's such a good foot soldier, and they're in their kind of, BDSM thing, he's like, I have to solve this problem for my king. So he goes out like a cat hunting and just brings back a little mouse in his mouth and is like, I got this for you. I got Jay White for you. We can use him now. We have him. And so they're both just looking at him like, okay, how do we make it work? How do we shake an idea out of this? That would be good TV.
Yeah, fun. I would actually love like a week to week like update where like they're backstage and Mox is like trying to like convince Jay White. Both Mox and Claudia are trying to convince Jay White to give them ideas, but like really ineptly, and like somehow they end up Stockholming Jay White until he's like, I can't help them though, is the thing.
He's like, I just can't watch them get this wrong anymore. Someone has to get this right.
And
so
Jay White's
the
like,
power behind the throne.
And Jay White's like, okay, so if your goal is XYZ, here's what we're gonna do. Step 1, and he says step 1, and Mox is like, and then we kidnap Rock and Roll Express, and Jay White's like, no. Step 2 is this, and then
Rock and Roll
Mox
Express
like,
doesn't do
and
anything.
then Rock and Roll Express. Jay White, oh my god.
Let's move away from the Rock and Roll Express idea.
It's literally that scene from The Good Place where Chidi is writing all the philosophers on the board. But then who taught Plato or whatever? Jay White is just like, my god.
Who died and made Plato boss, right?
Yeah. Socrates.
Socrates.
Whatever, whichever one. We don't know, okay? Wow. Okay. So then this week's Dynamite opened with a backstage Jay White promo where I appreciated this. It was pure simplicity, but effective in its simplicity. Jay White was just like, you might be wondering how I ended up here. Do I have a relationship with Cope? No, I don't know the man from Adam. And his name is Adam. That's funny. Okay. He's like, I do have a bit of I have some history with FTR. That's so true. But you'll recall that I said I might have to partner with some unlikely allies in order to get the job of whatever he's trying to do, beat the Deathriders, done. So that's why I'm partnering with them, and I'll continue to partner with them. And I said, you know what? Thanks. That did it for me. I needed it to be addressed. I wouldn't say that this was the most artistic way that it could have been addressed, but it was simple. It did what I had to do.
Yeah. A simple acknowledgement of there's no reason I'm on their side except self-interest. Yeah. It does it. Yeah, it's something.
They were here and they were willing. They were warm bodies.
We've been worn down so much that I'm like, oh, you're not going to pretend that you guys are long lost brothers? Well, that's a win for me.
Tony Khan has us wrapped in our bath towel in the tub. He's shaving us. We're just like, fine, I fucking guess. I have no hair now. Yeah, I've been trying to grow it out for 4 years, but I guess I have none now. Thanks, Tony. Thank you for my life. So then he immediately got into a brawl. Jay White got into a brawl with the Deathriders. FTR turned out to be there, so they got into the brawl. Marina Shafir screedled away from the fray and then just threw Renee over her shoulder, fireman style, and carried her off camera.
Perfect. Loved it.
Incredible.
Loved it.
Beautiful visual.
The action spilled out into the arena. Claudio saved Mox from getting beaten up by Cope. Cope yelled out to Mox, like, do you accept my challenge to fight at Revolution? Did I even say that? Oh, yeah, he said he wanted them to fight at Revolution. I think I said it. Yeah. Anyway, and Mox was like, no, I won't do that. And so then Jay White was like, okay, well, I have a different idea. Mox and Claudio, you can fight me and Cope at Grand Slam. And then Manolo just said, AEW booked it. Who is signing off on what? You know what I mean? Like, why did Revolution not get signed off on, but this did immediately get signed off on? I don't usually get that persnickety about, like, why matches are happening, but if you say explicitly, like, someone turned down one match, but the other one is okay, it's kind of like...
Well, it's like, usually when they do that, they, like, I like when, like, a challenger is like, fight me at this date, and the belt holder is like, absolutely not. And then like Tony Schiavone grabs the mic and is like, actually, Tony Khan has just booked this match. Like, that's fine. Like, you can do that. Agree. So I wish that they had Excalibur or someone be like, sorry, Mox, Tony's booked it.
Yeah. It would be funny though. I'm kind of enamored of a situation where people are feuding and they keep being like, Mox, I challenge you for this match, and he just keeps being like, no, like, leave me alone. I mean, it'd be a good like Max Caster type feud. You know, you got an annoying little guy coming at you. Like, stop it. We're not gonna fight.
I know that it would never work for wrestling, and people will be mad that I'm even saying it. I love to preface with that. But have we ever had a champion who was just like turning down matches because they were so fucking depressed? Like they just like they're just like, we're only ever seeing them in their dressing room, and it's like Renee is like, knock knock knock, like Darby was just wondering if you might want to fight him this week, and whoever the champ is just like, please go away. I can't fight. I'm too sad.
I think OC could do that.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Funny.
If we're
Give
just
him a belt right now, and he would just be like, whatever.
whatever, I don't care. My life sucks. Okay. Where am I in the schedule? Any other thoughts about... I think we might not have any other... I think we might have said all our thoughts about this. Any other thoughts? Any thoughts about Jay White and Cope teaming up, I guess?
I don't really care about that. This brawl was like kind of fun for Deathriders thing. Like, I had no objection.
No, but I didn't either. But one of you said, and I agreed, that it's like, oh, did you open Dynamite with a big boisterous brawl because everybody complimented Kenny last week?
Yeah. And unfortunately, I just don't have any grace in my heart for FTR at this point. So when they do stuff like this, I am just like, okay, well, you're just copying. I think, Ann, you said this. You're just copying someone else's homework. Yeah. You saw that something got a great response, so you're like, well, we can do that too. And it's like, okay, well, you didn't do it as good, though. You actually didn't do it remotely as good.
That's another reason why you shouldn't give promos that show that you've just been reading the internet all the time. Like, pretend like you have no idea what's getting reviewed well and what's not getting reviewed well, and then,
That's real. Then at least you have
some plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability. Thank you, Ann. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Toni Storm cut a spotlit promo on Collision. It's like everything was completely dark and she was just in the spotlight. It looked really good. Mm-hmm. And she had that hairstyle that it's like kind of like a pinup demon look was how it pinged for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They look kind of like horns. So she did a promo where she explained that she's been playing this role of Toni Storm the ingenue, and she did present it extremely comedically, where she was like, you might not have realized, but that was me. It's perfect. And she said, I didn't do this for you, I did this for myself. When Mariah May broke my heart and took everything, I was so embarrassed and so ashamed that I had to run away from myself. And then I realized the only way out was through the fire. I thought this rocked.
I like that. I liked it a lot.
I loved it. Yeah, because it's like you still get like her psychotic break is because she was so upset, but then it was like then she turned it around and like used it in a plot. But that also like makes sense of like why it didn't like fully hold together as a plot, right. It did a little bit, but otherwise it's like, I
loved the idea that it was never a devious thing, that like it was her protecting her heart, and then once she healed, she was like, now how can I use this against Mariah? But I loved that.
Yeah. I thought it was like best of both worlds. Absolutely.
It's really psychologically juicy, and I forgot the other thing I was going to say. I guess maybe just that it was juicy. It's really juicy. Fuck the wine. Guys, I haven't even had that one. I had like 3 sips. This can't be the wine. God help us all.
It was just the cheerfulness where you were like, and another thing. Nope, it's gone.
I think I thought it was a really good point. I was like, they're going to love this one. I don't fucking know. I was going to say that it's good because it's vulnerable. It's like to just straight out be like, I was really vulnerable. So I went in my mind to a place that felt safe, where like there weren't any expectations on me, where like, I was just someone who like nothing bad had ever happened to. That's great.
Right, and that it was okay to lose. It was okay to fail because you were young and you hadn't proven yourself yet. Yes. And, like, you could see why she would be like, I needed to time travel back there when it was easier to fall,
Even talking about it, I'm like, that's so smart. That's, like, such a smart way to present this.
Yeah, and it really like takes seriously the fact that like Mariah broke her heart and that betrayal like really got to her, which is I feel like a lot of times wrestlers don't let the storylines they're doing like have enough impact on them moving forward, and it's so fun to see.
Yeah, I know we do. There are a lot of people who are they just forget everything that ever happened to them, and they're always a blank slate. And I guess that's,
I think the wrestling default is that like if you get betrayed or destroyed or you lose the belt, you disappear for a couple weeks, right? And then when you come back, you're fresh and you start over and you don't have any scars from what happened. And it's like that's actually not as fun.
Yeah. That's kind of like a video game reset, I guess, is like that's how a lot of people do it. But we don't prefer that because we don't play video games. So.
No. and not to skip ahead, but that's what kills about Hangman and Swerve is because they carry their scars into every new feud.
It makes that's what has always been great about the whole Elite, too, is that they are always remembering their history and, like, they are repeating mistakes, but the vibe is never like, we forgot that happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so on Dynamite, then, Toni wrestled Queen Aminata with Mariah May on commentary, which meant we got to see Mariah's lifetime reaction when Justin Roberts announced that tonight Toni would be playing the role of the glamour, Mariah May, and she came out to Mariah's theme, dressed in Mariah's gear, wearing a wig, and doing an absolutely astoundingly funny impression of Mariah for the entire match and afterwards.
It was incredible. It was such a funny mind game to play. And it's like, when we were talking about the timing last time of like when she revealed that she was faking the amnesia, it's like it'll depend on like what they do if the timing was good or not. But I feel like the fact that she's continuing to play insane mind games with her is like A+.
Yeah, especially because like when she did reveal that she was Timeless Toni, Mariah's reaction, it wasn't like anger or like indignant, like Mariah was unsettled, and so then when this happened, it was kind of the same thing. So it's like the through line is that Toni knows exactly how to get under Mariah's skin, and Mariah can't seem to stop like letting her.
Yeah. Well, because
and Mariah doesn't have any defenses up against this kind of thing. Like she clearly didn't see it coming and was really gotten to. It was crazy.
Right. In a way that even like Mina didn't get. Like Mina was just like straightforwardly mad at her, and Mariah could take that. Like she could guard against someone just being straight up mad at her. Whereas what Toni's doing to her, she can't figure out how to combat it.
Well, and I wonder if like she also has kind of a vibe of like she thinks of herself as like very unique and exceptional, and she's like, and I did this thing to Toni that like only I could have done. And Toni's vibe is like, I can pretend to be someone else. I can pretend to be you. Like, I can do the same thing that you did to me. I can play these mind games. And Mariah's vibe is just like, no, you can't. And it's like, well, she is. It's working amazing. Like, you are so discomfited. So Toni she won the match, and Renee came into the ring to interview her and said, Toni Storm, and Toni cut her off and said, please, Renee, call me Mariah. And she was doing this absolute psycho sex pot impression of Mariah that it just was so funny. And so she did this whole thing where she was like, I'm Mariah May, and I'm the woman from hell, and I stand on the neck of every woman in this division. And Mariah is clearly just like freaking out on commentary, just like getting tenser and tenser. And she finally she goes, you've humored this woman for long enough. And she stomps up to the ring, and she's standing on the apron, and she cannot make herself go in there and actually have a physical confrontation about it. So instead she stormed backstage shouting, I'm Mariah, I'm Mariah.
It was so funny. Like the way she was saying it was so like little kid, and it was like, wow, that like stop copying me. Like it really, even as an adult it'll get to you. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Also, Toni wearing Mariah's gear was so good, but I also appreciated our social suplex Discord got destroyed. It was just like walls of people being like,
oh god,
got quite a reaction.
I'm like same though. She
of course we are
looking phenomenal. She looked so good.
She looked amazing.
I'm gay.
Mariah really couldn't bring herself to look at her either, which was very interesting. And I don't know if that's partly like how like watching yourself on video, sometimes like it can, freak you out, or if it's, who knows what it was.
Well, I kind of thought it might have been like a combination of like being freaked out and also being like rabidly horny because Mariah loves herself more than anything. Right. And so to see the woman that she's so like linked with pretending to be her, like she's like, she's also going awooga. And I'm horny and I'm mad all at the same time.
And it's like Toni knows that she's going to get all of those reactions. Like she absolutely knows like you're going to hate this and you're going to be so horny for it. And you're going to wish that you could come find me and you can't. We're not Swerve Hangman yet.
Give it a few months and then come find me in my dressing room.
I thought this was great. They're the fucking MVPs. I can't believe that there's anyone out there who doesn't like this, and I only know that because of seeing people complain reasonably about people who are complaining about this unreasonably. Yeah. I don't know why you wouldn't think this is great.
Yeah.
Well, it's like,
grow up.
Like, of all the things on the show, you're complaining about this? Like, there's a lot to complain about on the show. Go spend your time over there.
Jesus. Okay, well, I can't wait to see what they keep doing. I think it was the right move for them to do this beat last week. I think they've played it perfectly. I love them. All right. Will Ospreay had a match scheduled versus a mystery Callis family opponent for this week's Dynamite. Don Callis came out to reveal the challenger before the match, and it turned out that it was dump truck boyfriend Mark Davis, or according to Don, a man you went up and down the roads with, which I don't think is a phrase, is it? It's kind of like a man you rode the rails with. And Callis, I think, just correct me if I'm wrong because I couldn't rewatch to make sure, but I think Callis revealed on commentary that Davis is in the Callis family now because while he was out injured, his parents, Kyle Fletcher, sold him to One Direction. Don Callis, is that correct?
I love that. No, I didn't hear what Don Callis's
someone
like
said
what
something.
his explanation is, but someone in our Discord said that commentary seemed to be saying that like Don Callis has something on Mark Davis, which I loved.
Yeah, I think Kenny implied that eventually. We'll get to that in a moment.
Kenny did for sure.
But somebody on commentary did say something. I think it must have been Don Callis, but I guess it
might have been. I just didn't hear that. Yeah.
It was basically just like, well, Mark Davis wasn't here and Kyle Fletcher had power of attorney, so he sold him to me. So I own him now. So Will Ospreay won the match, and then he hopped on the mic and he said, this is honestly so sweet. He said, Atlanta, oh my God, it's like a little party in here, right? In exactly that tone, of course. I don't know why it was so sweet and funny to me. It's like a little party in here. And then he called Don Callis a party pooper, and he just like couldn't contain himself, clearly. Just so excited. He said, I've got a new best friend.
It's so funny. His vibe was really like so happy about his new best friend, whereas, Kenny's like, oh yeah, hey, we definitely eat lunch at school, I guess.
He said, I've got a new best friend. And everyone started chanting Kenny, and he was like holding the mic out, like, everybody chant for Kenny. And then he's looking backstage like, Kenny, come out, Kenny. Look at them. I got them all chanting for you, Kenny. Come out.
And the vibe was sort of like before this segment, like Ospreay was like, will you come out with me? And Kenny's like, I just got a plate of chicken nuggets. Like, I'm good. Like, I don't want to go out this week. And Osprey's like, oh, come on, it would be so fun. And Kenny's like, next week, bud. We'll do it next week. And so then Ospreay gets on the mic and he's like, Kenny! And Kenny's like, oh my fucking God.
I guess I can't say no to the whole little party of the arena. So Kenny came out, looking so cute. Low pony, little ripped jeans. He's just a little tomboy.
Those ripped jeans killing me. Adorable.
Just a little Pig City tomboy.
I was dying because one of my best friends messaged me and was like, I was listening to the pod, and so I Googled Kenny Omega 2025, and I was like, girls, that's not a girl. That's not girl mode. And I knew that she must have been seeing like
like
the
Japan
Gabe Kid match things. And so I had to go hunt down a GIF of Kenny in the ring with his cute little hair pulled back, and she was like, "Okay, I see the vision."
Thank you. It's good to know that when presented with the evidence, people understand what we're saying. Mm-hmm. So he came out to the ring. He cut a little promo where he did say, "Mark Davis, man to man, I have no clue what Don Callis has on you, but trust me, even though it might be scary, even though it may seem hopeless, help is there." And what I've learned is there are people here you can trust, which I thought was funny. I was like, I don't know that you can trust Will Ospreay yet, unless Kenny's just like, look at him. He's just a sweet, dumb boy. He's so happy to have me as a friend. He's not going to betray me. Like, grow up.
It was so
a young buck.
So
it's true. It's like Kenny's like, listen, I've betrayed and been betrayed by the best. Will Ospreay's not getting anything over on me.
What do you think I think I said that. What do you think that, like, their kayfabe vibes are backstage right now? Will Ospreay is like, I finally have someone to eat lunch with. I'm out of my mind. Like, what do you think they're up to back there?
I feel like Will Ospreay's like giving him friendship bracelets. He's like being like, Kenny, I made you something, and Kenny's like, that's great, buddy.
Yeah. Like, I think
Kenny I'm just imagining it's like a lump of clay, and Kenny's like, what is this? And he's like, whoa, it's gonna be a pot, but then it fell apart, so it's like a paperweight. And he's like, what do you think I need? What kind of papers do you think I have that need to be weighted?
That might blow away. Yeah.
Well, you're an EVP now. I thought you had paper.
Oh, like
outdoor paper?
Yeah. But I also think there has to be a vibe of, like, Kenny doesn't have other friends either, right? Like,
That's
the
true.
Bucks are A, gone, and B, betrayed him. But also, like, there's no one else backstage left, and he was gone for so long. I'm sure he felt, like, a little insecure. Like, who's he going to eat lunch with? And so, like, his mouth is pretending to be, like annoyed with Kenny, or with Will Ospreay, but his heart is like, please do eat lunch with me, because I don't know who I'm eating lunch with.
He started, like, after just like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he's suddenly like looking for Will Ospreay at every room he goes in. Like, like, where am I gonna? Oh, I can stand with Will. That's fine. Like, I don't want to be standing awkwardly
Will is over
by
there
myself.
just like waving his arms like, Kenny, I saved you a spot. Kenny. It's really quite sweet, because I like imagining Kenny's like early days vibe. Like, he's kind of like slinking into catering and like getting a little food and then trying to go eat it in a corner. And Will Ospreay is like, let's sit at the center of the cafeteria so everybody can see that I have a friend now. And Kenny, I tried to be friends with them and they didn't want to be friends with me, but look at me now. I have you, bud. I have you.
I get the best friend at all. They're gonna be so jealous. You're so much better than the House of the Hellhounds or whatever.
The Hounds of Hell. Woof woof, Kenny.
Kenny, let's show them we can bark really loudly and so much better than they can bark.
No, oh my God. Kenny, let's meow. Let's meow at them. They'll hate it.
Let's be the cool cats, Kenny. Oh my gosh. Wow, I'm so happy for him. I'm sure nothing will ever go wrong with this. All right, what else happened here? Nothing. And then later in the show, I did really fuck this up again. I've written Brody and Bronk fought Takeshita and Fletcher, but Leah pointed out it's the second time in as many days that I meant to type Buddy and I typed Brody.
See, I read that and I thought Brody was Bronk, but maybe she thinks it's Buddy now. Who's Bronk?
It's just nice deleting.
Bronk and Bronk.
I'm like, Buddy isn't real to me. I refuse to acknowledge this man.
You and I had a very funny interaction where you had typed in our group chat, I can't believe they're letting Brody talk now. And I had gone to the bathroom, and so I wasn't watching the show. So I just came back and was like, well, they should let Brody talk because I love him. And you replied to me and you were like, hey, him? You like him? I put up with so much from you lately. You can't be softening your heart for Buddy Matthews. And I was like, you said Brody. And you were like, oh, in my defense, Buddy was on screen. And I was like, well, we're both clowns.
it was two idiots trying to have a conversation, but then we both ended up pretty happy because I was so relieved that she wasn't saying that she had caved to Buddy too. That I was just like, oh god, right, yeah, you love Brody, that's okay, that's fine, it's cool to love Brody, that's no big deal. It's like, oh, you're doing tons and tons of marijuana, that's fine as long as you're not bumping coke.
It's like, as long as you're doing it in the house, Leah, like, where I can keep an eye on it.
I thought you said you were going to go trip acid at a rave. Okay. Anything else you want to say about the... any thoughts on Mark Davis joining the Callis family? Your thoughts on what's going on there?
I am not opposed to Mark Davis joining the Callis family and reuniting with Kyle Fletcher. The end goal is admirable. But to psych up everybody and be like, a mysterious, cool person is going to debut as the Don Callis, part of the Don Callis family, and then it's Mark Davis, who like, Kyle's not even there. Kyle's not even like witnessing it or interacting. They don't at any point they don't have Kyle react to that. And Mark doesn't talk at any point. Mark's not like, here's what's going on with me. What was the point of any of this? Why did Mark Davis come out in his winter coat and act outraged for weeks and then without any fanfare was like, well, he was right. I'm fine. Like, let's do this.
Yeah. It was crazy. And it's like, and I'm not opposed to the storyline of like Don Callis has something on Mark Davis, so he's forcing him to fight with him. But it's like, if you're going to do that, you should be showing me that Mark Davis is upset about it, which in the match he seemed 100% normal.
Yeah.
And then you also need to have Kyle reacting to it for sure. And Kyle is like teaming with Takeshita, and they're like flirting constantly on Twitter. So it's like Mark Davis should be reacting to
Kyle
that.
Is actively having an affair.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm sorry. I am the biggest fan of like long-term tag team marriages, but Kyle's sold Takeshita to me. Like, I'm listening. They're on Twitter. They're like learning sex terms together. I love that for them. I'm rooting for them.
I want you to learn what those sex terms are, and if you feel like doing them, go for it. I support you. But that's your decision.
Yeah, it's like you can't suddenly like switch again and be like, just kidding, it's not me and Takeshita, it's me and Mark Davis. Get out of here.
Well, because especially if you're not gonna remember what happened with everyone. It's like they wanted it to be a surprise when he showed up for the match, but it's like, I'm sorry, Mark Davis is not enough of a surprise to like sacrifice your story to be like, oh my god, it's Mark Davis. Like,
if it was his first time back from injury, it would have worked. But it's like, we did already see him for a minute, and I just think it is inherently fucked up that Mark Davis was like, Kyle, I think maybe you're doing something pretty evil, and Kyle was like, well, then I am evil, and but then Kyle doesn't seem fucked up at all that his husband was like, I think I might have to divorce you over this.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see Kyle seething. Or like, if Kyle was like treating, if they have dirt on Mark Davis, that means he's in the Callis family because they need the muscle. But Kyle is like treating him like dirt and being like, I've actually got a hot new piece who loves how evil I am. So enjoy like just being the trash of the Callis family and hating what you do, but being forced to do it. That would be pretty hot.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Really hot. But like right now, I'm just getting the impression that like Kyle's never met Mark Davis. Is like the vibes.
Right.
Like
Kyle has amnesia. Kyle has amnesia.
There's a lot of very good things you could do that get you the result of Mark Davis is in the Callis family. I kept wanting to say Dallas family, and I was like, I know it's wrong.
It's faster.
I can't figure out where it's gone.
The Dallas family, yeah.
The Dallas family. Let's just adopt it. Let's say Dallas family.
But there's a lot of ways that you could get there if you wanted to, but a lot of them rely on either having Kyle react to this or having Mark react to this.
Yeah.
Don Callis cannot tell this story for them.
No, exactly. It's crazy. Like, and Kenny certainly can't be the one telling the story. I mean,
he did a pretty good job.
He's doing what he can.
And I love that Kenny's like, oh, I see another boy being abused, and, you know, like, there's women's shelters available. Like, that's nice, you know, but, like, so at least Kenny's got his own story continuity, but, like, other people need to contribute their parts.
Kenny is like at the end of an episode, like if you or someone you love has like been fed mysterious powders by an uncle. Here's a resource
help
that you can
available.
reach out to.
I would love to see him do one of those promos where he like walks on screen and then sits down at the edge of a desk and looks very seriously in the camera and says, "Have you been fed powder by a man you trusted?"
www.mysteriousPowders.com. There's help.
We're listening. What was I going to say about... I think that Kenny might need to... It's like, Kenny, shoot, get your Elite, get your Young Bucks, get your Hangman. Let's set up a little study sesh with the Callis family and just say, like, you guys have all the emotional potential in the world. You have a million stories that you could tell, and you could make these girls laugh, you can make them cry, you can make them love, but you have to learn how to pull the specific strings that they need pulled. And we can teach you how to do that. We're the experts. Like, just get a little, there's no shame in getting a little coaching about how to make girls go bonko for your emotional soap opera.
Yeah. Peer mentoring.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely. Or, get Swerve in a storyline with them for, like, one episode, and then suddenly they'll be doing great work,
Yes, that's true, yeah. Get Swerve in there, too. We can fix this. And it's so not even like it's, like, going, like, super bad, right? It's going well, but we want to see a little more. We want to see a little more. We want to see a little more.
This makes me crazier than, like, the Deathrider stuff, because with the Deathrider stuff, I'm like, well, I don't know how to help you. But, like, with this, I'm like, it's all there. All the pieces are there.
Right. Yes. Yeah. No, you're exactly right. That we're just like, oh, if you just, like, rearranged some of this and, like, add a scene, and they're just like, we already sent it out to TV. We can't do anything. I already sent it to TV, I'm afraid.
Literally, one little skit at the mansion, you'd be good to go.
I know. They filmed that whole, like, dinner table thing. They could have filmed them a couple more.
I think they should have done a tease. Like, they should have had Kyle in some way communicate his feelings about this mysterious man coming to join them. I think you could have done a pretty light touch that then in retrospect it would have been like, oh, Kyle is communicating that he loves this man, but they're not, but they're in a fight, or like he's pretending he hates this man. Like, you could have done something.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That this is meaningful to Kyle in some way.
Right. Or even, had Don Callis be like, and there's someone else joining us, someone that Kyle brought in for, you know what I mean? Like, something that indicates
or just
how
like, isn't there Kyle?
Involved.
Yeah. And Kyle just makes it, and he does a little face acting about it.
Yeah.
We love you, boys. We're just trying to help, okay? We just want you. We want to cry. We want to cry. We want to feel. Okay? We come to this place to feel. What is the Nicole Kidman? We come to this place because we want to. Because we want
commercial.
Yeah, we want to feel something. We come to this place to cry. This is AMC. AEW equals AMC. I'm Nicole Kidman. And this is Masterpiece Theater. All right. Ricochet had a sit-down interview with Renee on Collision this week. He explained that for years, fans have been begging him to come to AEW, but the second he showed up, they turned their backs on him. Literally none of this got recapped. It's like no one wants these updates anymore, but I'll continue to give them to you. None of this got recapped by AllEliteWrestling.com. Swerve showed up mid-interview, and he said, I could end you right now, but it would upset a whole lot of people in Atlanta where their fight was scheduled for. And then this is so horny. He so gently said, excuse me, Renee, I'll take this from here. And Renee was kind of like, God, these men, they are always into something. Like, she's skedaddled. And Swerve sat down and said, let's talk, Trevor. And he said, I will quote this, I thought this was so crazy good. I just went loco for it. He said, I'll never forget the day you announced that you were a free agent. I said, don't bring that man here. Because AEW has a special gift for exposing people for who they truly are and what they're all about. You pretended to be a superhero for these people, and they rejected you for it. Me, I know I'm the villain, and I get all the respect in the world for it. There is so much good character work packed into that tiny bit of promo. It's just like, fuck, you have said something so interesting about yourself. You've said something genuinely interesting about this promotion, which people usually don't, even though we are talking all the time about what our promotion stands for. That's probably the most interesting thing I've heard about it years.
100%. Everyone's always like, this isn't what AEW is, but you have no idea what they think it is. But it's like, oh, special gift for exposing people for who they truly are. I mean, that's kind of
right.
It's
like when you think about it, you're like, I think that's true. It is some kind of crucible. Interesting.
And it is great to basically be like, you came here, without saying WWE, but to be like, you came here like ready to perform a character that someone else was telling you to be, but like, you have to be who you are here. You can't be something that someone else is telling you to be. And it's like, that rocks. That is like a philosophy of like what this place is. It genuinely is the most compelling thing that anyone has said in ages.
Yeah, imagine if Mox was out there fighting for like authenticity at AEW, for people being who they really are, something like that. Like, that would be more interesting anyway.
I guess then he'd be a face, but it's like, but then you just take the inverse. You take something real like this and you figure out what the inverse is.
Yeah.
This was so, I felt really rocked by it. I was just like, this is so smart.
Yeah.
And Ricochet was watching blank faced. Sorry, Leah, did I cut you off?
No. I was just saying, like really aggressively emphasizing that I thought this was really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so Ricochet's watching blank faced, and then he eventually responds and he says, You're right. I did come in here like that, and I acted like I cared so much about these people, and I don't. I don't care about them. I never have, and I never will. And then he said, you call yourself the most dangerous man in AEW, but ever since Hangman snatched your grill, I haven't felt no threat from you. Which was just like, it's like you just watched him just be like, oh, should I push the button? I think I'll push the button. And it's so big and it's right there. It's so easy to push. He pushed it, and Swerve seized him and like dragged him to his feet and put a pair of scissors to his neck, and they just stared deep into each other's eyes for a long, fraught moment. And then Swerve let him go and put the scissors back in his pocket and left. What the fuck?
Okay. It is crazy how good work they're doing, considering like Ricochet's first few months, which wasn't terrible or anything, but it's like I didn't know he had any of this in him.
Right, but like what I like so much about what Swerve says is that like it made those first few months mean something. It's like feeding who he is now. You know what I mean? Where it's like Swerve's pointing to that and being like, that didn't connect with the audience because nobody likes that guy. And Swerve and Ricochet, like, not denying that is so good, but him just being like, well, if I'm wearing a mask, so are you, and your mask is that you're pretending that you're still dangerous when you're defanged, It's really good.
It's so smart, and I'm not saying that Swerve has never like had to pivot and just been like, okay, I'm going to ignore that this thing happened completely. But I think a lot of the times when he's adjusted his character, his vibe is like, okay, well, but I'll make it a part of the story. And it's like, that is what good storytellers do. Like that is, that's like what the elite try to do too, is that you're just like, okay, I'm not going to like try and retcon stuff if I can help it. Like I want to take what's gone wrong and figure out how it can inform something that will go right. And it's like, that's great. That is how you get a character who feels fully realized and that like I feel investment in, or I like am able to say like, this is who I think this person is, which is what I want to be able to say about the wrestlers I watch on TV.
Right. Yeah, and it's such a good skill for a wrestler. Like Swerve really is so good at it because you're doing it in live time and you are pivoting based on how the audience reacts and stuff, to be able to take what's come before and like reinterpret it in a way that makes sense and is interesting and does inform the storyline. Like it's such a skill to like keep it together. And like real human people aren't fully consistent all the time either, so it's like it's just really good to be able to pull it all together like this.
It's great. And it's great, like, just from the perspective, too, of, it's, like, nice for Ricochet that now it's, like, if things continue to go well for him, like, the narrative of his time here, like, will become less and less, like, oh, he wasn't doing good at the beginning and for shoot, and then he did do good. It'll be like, oh, he told a great story about who he was.
Right. He told the story. Right. He told the story of the guy trying to be slick to get over and then, like, abandoning that, even though that probably wasn't what he was going to do then. I don't think so. But now it seems all intentional,
Yeah. Yeah.
Smoke
and the way that Swerve and Hangman keep their Nemesis storyline simmering in the background, and it's still like the nuclear option how anyone can get to Swerve to either of them is by mentioning that is like so horny and good, and it like keeps my interest level, even though it's like I don't want them to like actively feud again for a while probably, but like I want them to do this their whole careers though.
Well, it's so smart and interesting to turn it into a thing where it's like my enemy is my greatest weakness because my enemy is the way anyone can get at me. Like, if you want me to lose my cool, again, it's like the button is right there. You just have to decide to push it. And like for other people, the decision is just like, well, can I handle the like what I'm going to provoke if I do that? And I'm sure lots of people will be like, no, I can't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can handle turbo mode, so I better not push that button.
Right. The big giant red button in the middle of Swerve's chest that he walks around with all day long.
Yeah, it's like, it's like when it gets pushed, it's like, you get all the power, but also you're completely out of control. Like you can't control what you're doing anymore, which is its own. I know, that's so good. It's so fucking smart, man. I just feel I feel so impressed by all of this. I'm really happy. Okay. Leah, do you want to say, I thought this was smart. You want to say this thing about the wrestling, about Ricochet's wrestling?
Yeah,
because then was I supposed to say that? Oh, yeah, I said it afterwards. The Swerve and Ricochet had their match on Dynamite, and Ricochet won, and he stole Swerve's robe afterwards and just left, and commentary was like, looks like it's Ricochet's house now.
Yeah, I think it's Nana's robe, I think. And
okay.
And so I think our friend Blorb was recently saying that she thinks like Ricochet's going to take scissors to it and it's going to destroy the robe.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be like,
oh my goodness, the guns on the wall. The guns on the wall.
Yeah. No, I was just struck by the fact that like I enjoyed like when he did his like mini feud with Ospreay. I enjoyed those matches. Like I thought they were great, and I thought he was a great wrestler. And I believe at the time we were saying things like people have seemed negative, but he seems perfectly pleasant. We like him. But now it's like in these matches with Swerve, it's like his moves seem so much more impactful because he moves with this purpose that he didn't have when he was just being like, I'm bouncing around, I'm tiggering with Ospreay. Like there's just something about him that like I don't think he's actually like wrestling better, but it feels so much more compelling like watching him move when I know like I know what his purpose is. And I just feel like that's something I think people really underestimate with wrestling is like it's not necessarily like oh my god, like the lucha style is bad, but it is like when you know what when somebody has a reason to be in that match and they're able to communicate it with their moves, that is the top tier for me.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I found this match like so compelling, and I was really tired at the end of the night last night, but it was like I was like riveted with this one. And it did feel like Ricochet's wrestling is so much more compelling. But it's like I think Swerve tweeted today something like in-ring supports the story and the story supports the in-ring.
I was about to say that too, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just so clear that like the way they were wrestling in the ring was such a continuation and like contributing to the story, and both of them working together, which is like really when wrestling is working, when it's like the in-ring story, the story's happening in ring and it's like informed by outside of it too, where in this one like Ricochet was killing Swerve at the beginning and I was like so upset at him, and like Swerve was selling it like crazy, and it was like, oh, I'm so like emotionally invested, but it's the stuff outside the ring and the stuff in the ring are all working together really, really seamlessly.
It's just really fucking good. It's great.
They're doing a really good stuff.
Yeah. And I feel like we're like, this section is just like gluttony, because I'm like, and to move on to something else that I love so much. Also on Dynamite this week, Renee interviewed Hangman and was like, okay, so about last week when you barged into Swerve's dressing room right in front of me, what was like going on there? And Hangman said, that was nothing. No, wait, you know what that was? It was a moment of weakness. It was a mistake, and that's all I'm going to say about it. And you don't ask about it again. You understand?
At that moment, there was instantly the sound of millions of women sucking air into their like a moment of weakness.
A moment of weakness.
Breathless.
Wow. Like, I can only assume that you're very aware of what it looked like last week, and that's how you're playing it. It's like
moment of weakness.
And
it was like one of those things where I was like, what does he mean by that? Does he mean what I think he means?
These were the two explanations. It's like, so it's like, what I'll call the girl kayfabe explanation is the sloppy makeouts thing. It's like, we do our sloppy makeouts, but Hangman is like, I have an awareness that I shouldn't be doing this because this is my enemy, and I have to stop going there and baiting him and kissing me nasty.
Mad. Yeah.
So it was just just don't talk to me about that, Renee. We all know what it was about, Renee. Don't bring this up to me again. The normal kayfabe explanation,
the boy kayfabe
explanation is that I was like, okay, Hangman. Because Renee in this interview goes on to be like, Hangman, do you feel bad that you killed Christopher Daniels? And Hangman is like, no, I don't. I killed him because I had to and I had no choice. So I was like, okay, the boy kayfabe explanation is that Hangman is kind of wrestling with like, I did this thing that's kind of fucking me up, and it's like making it hard for me to just be the monster because I think about it and I'm like, oh, I killed my friend. I did kill my friend. And he felt compelled to go interact with a person who he thought would understand this like struggle that he's having internal, where it's like he wasn't feeling like he thinks like I want to go fight with him and lash out at him, but part of him is drawn to like, you're fucked up about who you are too, which is great because Swerve has just reinforced that on the program last on Collision, being like, I know that I'm the villain, and Hangman is like, I know I'm the villain, but he's trying to convince himself. Swerve really seems to believe it. So that's my boy kayfabe explanation, is that he is struggling with feeling like close to Swerve.
What you've said to me are two incredibly horny kayfabe explanations.
Porque no los dos.
I'm really horned out. Like, the idea of Hangman being like, I feel really bad about myself and I feel evil and I need to go find the one person I believe is more evil or as evil as I am, because I will seek comfort from knowing he's still there. I don't think that we can call that the boy kayfabe.
I know. That's just the girl version of why they're doing sloppy makeouts. Like that's the internal motivation that gets him to the room where they end up in a fight that leads to sloppy makeouts.
You're right. Yeah. I guess the boy kayfabe version is like he wanted to punch Swerve.
It might be like he was thinking about apologizing or something. You know, a moment of weakness. Like felt bad.
We have to like phone a boy to come in here, like Zoom bomb Berklada, and be like, now what did you see when you saw that?
Let's poll our boys. Maybe we'll post a
put a poll in the Spotify
this week.
Oh my god, that'll be so funny if we post a poll that's like, I mean, not
what's your
essentialist, but it's like long-term wrestling fans, traditional wrestling fans only can answer this poll.
This is our periodic reminder that we are sorry that we do talk about girl and boy in a kind of gender essentialist way, and we do use it as a shorthand for like, we want wrestling to do something kind of a little different than maybe it has always done, and boy is like, you want it to do kind of the same and you don't want girls to be happy. Yeah. So, but we know it's not, that is gender essentialism, and it's just a shorthand, and we are sorry. Okay?
Yeah.
We're sorry.
Yeah.
Of course, some boys like kissing stories, and some girls like serious scraps, you know. But
But I am going to do the poll.
Of course, you got to do the poll,
I think the other thing about the second girl kayfabe explanation is that, like, Hangman has just, like, Christopher Daniels, like, came to Hangman and was like, I know your heart. I know you're still in there somewhere and that you feel bad. And Hangman is like, when you say that to me, I feel even worse. I feel crazy at the idea that there are people out there who expect more of me than to be a monster, like when I have decided like I can only be a monster. So it's like, he wants to go see the one person who'll be like, yeah, you're a monster. But of course the sexiest thing about that is that like they are kind of the realest people in the world to each other. Like I think they're on a path to understanding more deeply than anybody else possibly can the nuances of each other's characters. They just haven't gotten to the point where they can accept that they're seeing those nuances yet.
Yeah.
I'm really
You're
really
cooking.
Horny. But yeah, cooking and horny in the kitchen. Okay. Well, oh yeah, so they have this CD conversation. Max Caster is sitting nearby and he interrupts and is just like, are you guys done? Can you hurry up? Because I've been sitting here waiting, I guess, to talk about his little like copyright gimmick thing. He's like, I've been sitting here waiting like forever.
Which I love. I love the idea that Renee is interviewing people and there's like a doctor's waiting room full of people waiting for their time with Renee.
If we got to do our sitcom, I would want to do one special episode that's just the whole thing. It's like a bottle episode. The whole thing takes place in line waiting to get to Renee. And it's just different conversations that people are having with each other down the line.
That'd be so fun.
A great episode. I'm like, I simply got to be writing a sitcom. And so they get into this back and forth where Max Caster is just talking to talk because he's just a whiny little pest, which is a great character for him.
Fantastic character. It's perfect. AEW has a special gift for showing people who they are, and Max Caster has found it. And it's right, and everything is working.
The interesting thing is that it's like Max Caster, of course, knows this about himself, and he often tries to like access or like tries to perform it by being a troll and being really provocative. And it's like, you don't need to be provocative. You're inherently very annoying. You don't have to say anything provocative or offensive. You just have to be like, is anybody paying attention to me? I wish someone would pay attention to me. I'm going to say a bunch of like just like stupid, self-centered stuff, just hoping that someone will pay attention to me, which is what he does. And he's kind of talking to Hangman and being like, I'm not mad that you killed Christopher Daniels. Like, I think that's really cool. I think that's amazing. I wish I could kill him. I wish like you could kill anyone, anyone that I don't like. You could kill Anthony Bowens if you want. I wish you would kill Billy Gunn. I wish you'd kill someone for me tonight. And Hangman was like, oh, I'd actually love to kill someone, but neither of them is here. You know who is here? Max Caster. I said here, it's like he suddenly remembered that he's a minnow and Hangman was a shark and was just like, might have gotten in a little deep here, and he just goes, okay, well, don't worry about that, and I'm just gonna go to my car. I'm gonna leave now. I'm gonna go to my car.
His delivery was so funny. He was like, yep. Anyway, Renee, thanks for your time. I'll be out in my car.
Just
incredible.
Like someone who can't get away with, I'm a little birthday boy, because he's too annoying. So he's just like, oh God, I forgot that I can't do that little birthday boy shtick. Nobody else falls for it. I just gotta leave. I gotta go. And Hangman just goes, I'm gonna come with you, and just follows him like at this pace that I was just like, this is a man who knows he's gonna catch him eventually, and that he can get away with anything he wants. Yeah. Just like, all right, let's have some fun. This beat is sick.
I love this so much, and I was thinking about, like, it's so funny because, like, of Anthony Bowens and Max Caster, Anthony Bowens is the better wrestler, right? Like, he's way better. But unfortunately, Anthony Bowens does not have a personality. So it's like Max Caster is going to be the one that we end up seeing more because he just has, like, a defined, like, personality that he can exploit. You know what I mean? Like, he can carve out a niche, and it is sort of like, you got to have that. I'm sorry, you guys. It's all got to go to school and get that.
He's doing a great thing where it's like he's best wrestler alive, and he has an open challenge where he just gets squashed all the time. Yeah. It's like, it's great because like wrestlers need somebody to beat. Like, it's hilarious. It's humiliating. And the fact that he's doing that humiliation is like, Max Caster, you've never done anything wrong, actually. I love you.
I know, it's a real redemption arc for him. Which, he probably doesn't deserve, because some of the things he said, it was like, please don't. Oh, please don't. But he is really nailing it. And it's a character that's great to have around, because it's like, that's like to have just a little rat pest that you can always be like, oh, if you put that guy in a scene, he's going to cause a problem. Like, and it's going to be such a crazy little problem. Yeah. He's just, it's a really useful character to have in your back pocket.
Oh, yeah.
Right. You want to show that Hangman's like still pretty furious, still kind of bad guy, throw Max Caster at him and just have some shenanigans.
Yeah. So really, really good stuff. And then, okay, just making sure we didn't, Christopher Daniels did get a really sweet video package on Collision. We can't talk about it right now. We've got to move on. Okay. Oh, Allie, these notes to yourself. We can't get into all that. I don't know why I'm like, I just have a little about being depressed in February in the middle of the schedule. MJF had an in-ring segment on Dynamite, and he came out and cut a little like fuck Jeff Jarrett promo. Also, the second man this week to just hang a lampshade on some stuff that's been going wrong. And he said, Jeff Jarrett, all you had to do was stay out of the way of a young, fast-rising, humble star, and you just couldn't do that. That's why I had to teach you a lesson, Jeff, and that lesson is as follows. AEW. The E in AEW stands for All Elite Wrestling, not All Elderly Wrestling.
I did think that was funny, although, like, now as you're reading, I'm like, did he steal someone's joke from Twitter, maybe?
It has to be someone's joke.
I don't know what is going... This is the place we're at with euthanizing old men. Stands for euthanasia. The place we're at with euthanizing old men right now is that I'm like, I don't really know how, like... what the backstage reaction is to the reaction of fans to the euthanization of old men. I can't tell what's going on anymore. I have no clue.
It's crazy.
As evidenced by some stuff I'm about to explain. So, okay, so he was like, now that Jeff Jarrett's gone, I can be champion again. Nonsensical. But he quickly, before he could explain, I'm sure he was going to explain himself further.
Oh, yeah.
He was interrupted by Max Caster running through the ring away from Hangman, and then Hangman stormed into the ring and did a little kissing pose with MJF, like as a, like just kind of watching Max Caster screedle off into the crowd, being like, yeah, I know I can get him. I'll stop and I'll look at you for a second. I don't like the cut of your jib either.
And then, did you see, like, once Hangman was in the crowd, too, everyone in the crowd was, like, pointing where Max Caster had gone, which was so funny.
That is why the character works. It's like, of course everyone is ratting him out. Okay. So then Hangman barges off again after Max Caster. MJF tries to keep promoing, but immediately gets interrupted again, this time by Dustin Rhodes, who comes out to the ring. And MJF is like, will everybody please stop fucking interrupting me? Dustin Rhodes is like, no, I have to cut a promo again about how I'm the last cowboy, and there'll never be another cowboy after me because I'm the last of my kind. I'm a dinosaur. I'm an old dinosaur. And so I guess maybe you should respect your elders. I don't even know if that's what he said. I didn't understand.
He was like screaming stuff about like Owen Hart and how you shouldn't talk about people's like past addictions and stuff.
I forgot.
The thing is though that like this whole segment up to this point had been like full French farce. Like Max Caster is shortcutting through the ring and he's yelling Hangman and like trying screedling out and Hangman's coming through and then Dustin Rhodes comes out and cuts a promo that I very red in the face, very angry promo that I think I was supposed to take seriously, but it's like in that context, it is hard to take it seriously. I'm like,
especially because it should have been on like some sort of like absurdist like comedy where like, hey, like Jeff Jarrett did that exact same promo and got panned for it, and then MJF came out and said, I'm not gonna do old man stuff anymore, and Dustin Rhodes came out and did the Jeff Jarrett promo. He said, and he just changed the word from last outlaw to last cowboy.
And he literally said his age also. Like, it's just like the exact same
like the 10th man this week to outright tell us his age. It's like, what is... this is what I'm saying is I'm like, I'm so confused that I'm barely pushing back at this point. I just want to know what conversations are happening backstage that are causing us to do the things we're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what does anybody want right now?
I have absolutely no objections to like Dustin Rhodes, MJF having like a little mini feud, like they're fighting next week and then it'll be over. Like that's fine. But the fact that Dustin Rhodes is getting like multiple segments, that he's getting in-ring segments to yell at MJF, and that he's literally coming out and it's like the role of Jeff Jarrett will be played tonight by Dustin Rhodes.
Right.
You know? Like he's mad at MJF because of the things MJF said to Jeff Jarrett. Like, and you're just kind of like, what?
Okay.
And what's happening?
What if the thing we don't know is that Tony Khan is hosting a secret, like, AEW's #1 old man competition. And so everyone is actually playing the role of generically #1 AEW old man. And these are just their auditions. So that's why we're seeing them all.
Yeah. And every week, like next week, MJF will be in the ring and like
Jerry
Tully
Lynn will come out.
There you go. Jerry Lynn will come out and he'll be like, I can't believe you were so mean to Dustin Rhodes. I'm 58 years old. And
he's going to look into the camera and say, I'm the last bandit. I'm the last of my kind.
It is like they gave them one monologue and they're all delivering it.
Just like, put your own spin on it, but kind of stick to like the general shape of it is what we want. We want you to come through for sure.
Your own
when you're
personal
doing
touch, yeah. But here's the 4 points you have to hit, yeah.
I was so happy. I think we all said this, like, we loved last night's episode.
We had a great time.
It was so fun.
Absolutely amazing time. So I wasn't mad at, like, anything. Like, was I bewildered about this? Yeah, absolutely I was. But was I angry? No, because you can earn goodwill so easily. So you just do a couple things I like, and then it's just like, well, this is fine.
If you give me a moment of weakness, and then you present me with the 5 minutes of the most bewildering moments of my life, I'm not going to be mad because I'm going to remember that moment of weakness. I'm going to let you have it.
And honestly, if Dustin Rhodes had been more normal, because this tipped way over into comedy for me, so I like thoroughly enjoyed it. He was like so red in the face, and he was screaming, and it was like delivering Jeff Jarrett's monologue, and I'm just like, wow, this is the best comedy I've ever watched.
Unfortunately, Dustin Rhodes, I just think he's inherently funny because he's shaped like Michigan J. Frog. So
he always looks so hangdog.
Yeah, and he's like moving around the ring, and I'm like, you're improbable.
You're improbable. That also must enter the lexicon. You're improbable. Just to mean like, wow, it's really not what I thought I wanted for myself, and I wouldn't want it again. But my goodness, in the moment, did it not keep me engaged? Was I not watching it? Yes, I was. I did watch. Well, you know, there were highs and lows in here. I will just say, I just want to reinforce, it's like anytime we could get a little more of this great kind of farce. Like I want, for me, I always reference the end of Georgette Hare, the Grand Sophie. I want people coming in and out of the room, and I want them to be holding random animals, and I want them all to have they're in their own worlds, and they're just like, I want an absolute I can't think of the word. I'm just trying to say
it just feels like a rich. It's like a rich world. It's like, you know, you saw Hangman chase MJF out of the shot earlier, and it's like he's still chasing him 5 minutes later. Like this is a rich world, and he's interacting. They're interacting with multiple people. Hangman's promoing with Renee, and MJF's sitting there off camera to interrupt. You know, like everybody's.
I want the
full world.
The glorious chaos of life.
Yeah. Which was always also what made BTE so good. Is that like you would have storylines interacting with each other on there, and that rules.
Yeah. It's like you just never know, like, you're running across people all the time, and you never know when it might suddenly be important that you happen to run across them in that moment. It's so good. Okay, I think we've got a number of flash topics to go through, so is that okay? Do you guys want to just stop me if you get tired or bored?
Yeah.
Okay. Willow and Kris had a brief backstage promo on Collision where Kris said that the two of them have a lot of good and bad history, and she asked for this conversation with Willow because she wanted to ask for forgiveness. And then she didn't explain anything else, which I guess is probably just because they only got like a minute, which is fine. But it was funny to just be like, because Willow was like, obviously we have a lot to say to each other, but I don't really think you're ready for that yet. And I was kind of like, well, I think Kris could have tried to say something a little more, you know, and she did. But Willow was like, I just want to focus on me right now. And Kris pulled out a friendship bracelet and said, just so you know, this was never broken. And she put it on. And then Willow watched her leave, looking really indecisive and beautiful and so beautiful and so hot and just so fucking
this
cute.
Screenshot you put in the schedule, I'm like, that is a hunk.
Awooga. She looked so good. I think she cropped her I just cropped a t-shirt today, which I've never done before, so afterwards I was like, wow, this looks amazing. I think she cropped this one. Looks great. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I feel like Kris and Willow's storyline went very awry, and Chris's turns and stuff were full of nonsense, but I really like them together, so I would kind of like them to salvage it, and this was not terrible, you know, it was fine, so.
As a quick little beat on the road to something, I do think it was perfectly serviceable. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Kris was wearing an insane top. And you know what? I love when she does that. Yeah. I thought, wow, that is improbable.
I feel like she's always wearing things on, like, this TV show that I'm always like, and where did you get that? Because I didn't know they made tops that did that.
A lot of her tops are like that. You know, that one time we were like, I wish there were a Project Runway wrestling gear episode, and then someone was like, that episode does exist, and I think we still haven't seen it. But her tops are always like, someone was like, I've done something a bit Cavalier. It's a little new. It's like, oh yeah, I don't think that's how clothes work, but you do you, sister. Okay, well, I'm excited for updates on that. The Hurt Syndicate came out to the ring on Dynamite, and MVP declared them open for business for tag team championship challengers. The Gun Club music hit, and the Guns are back. And they came out, they did their little entrance, and they came out to talk business. And then they had a very funny exchange. I don't know what was happening here, where MVP was like, well, you're not businessmen, but you are conducting yourselves like men. So you should come into the ring to talk face-to-face like men. And I kept being like, I feel like there's like a secret meaning here that I don't understand. Like, what do you mean?
Is this a code?
What's a businessman and what's a man? Oh, God. Okay, so they come into the ring. They're having a little back and forth. Would one of you like to read the line of the promo? Huge pop.
One of the Guns said, "Oh, you guys hurt people? Congrats on doing your job," which I loved. It's perfect. Yeah,
it was so funny, and I was like, yeah.
It's
when
one of
people
those
try to
devastating ones that now I am gonna. Every single time I hear that theme song, I am just gonna be like, "Yeah, we all hurt people. That's what we get paid for.
That's what it means to be a person." Wow, something so existential about the Hurt Syndicate, actually. Okay, so are you guys happy to see the Guns back?
So
I was thrilled. I love
really
their entrance
happy.
so much. And they're honestly like very charismatic and fun. I felt like the vibes were so different between like the Guns and the Hurt Syndicate, but it somehow like made me like everyone more. I was like, well, I won't say no to this. This is kind of fun.
I was interested in it, and I did feel just so abruptly crazy fond of the Guns, and I just remembered for some reason it was like towards the end of this promo they were like we're the ass boys and everyone loves it or whatever they say. And I just remembered back when the ass boys thing started and they put those flyers on the chairs at Dynamite being like, do not call us the ass boys. And I think about that sometimes, and I'm just like, man, that was smart. That was it was really smart of them to do that. Like, they really capitalized on this in the best possible way. I can't believe I love them so much now.
Yeah, I know. We were Gun early adopters, too. Like, remember how mad everyone used to be at them, like, all the time?
But we said, let them live.
Let them live. Little charmers.
Let them work. Let them live.
Let them work. Let them cook, let them work, and let them live. Okay? Let them do anything they want. Any thoughts on how this will play out? It's okay to say no. I'm not really sure.
Not strong thoughts, but it's nice that the tag teams are allowed on Dynamite again. I guess.
I'm like, oh, are we getting the tag teams back together? Kyle and Mark, and bringing the Guns back? I mean, if we're being serious about the tag team division again, that would be nice.
I'd like it if we were.
Nice.
And I'd like to see some remarriages. You know, we were just saying on Sir Sam's podcast that it's like we haven't gotten to see another wrestling wedding since. It's like, let's get some of these tag teams married.
Yeah, we could do a little wedding for Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis, a recommitment ceremony, you know.
So nothing.
Yeah, and Cool Hand and Daddy Magic could also use a commitment.
That's right, they've reunited.
Yeah.
Had a lot
Renew
of
their
reunions.
vows.
Yeah, renew their vows. Let everyone know that you almost got divorced. But
what if it's like a mass wedding ceremony? So it's like, come if you want to marry or remarry your tag team partner,
like the Moonies.
Yeah. And that makes sense because we're in our cult era at AEW.
Yeah, maybe Moxley could remarry all the tag. If you wanted to make AEW better, you know, reclaim the soul of AEW, perform a group tag marriage.
I would kill for a scene where it's just every tag team standing across from each other holding hands and just being like, I promise not to get mad at you if you accidentally kick me in the face in the ring. I swear that when you want me to tag you in, I'll tag you in.
I'll tag you in. I promise to always seek, like, even when we don't agree, I promise to seek out a compromise that we can both live with. Yeah, beautiful. Let's do that. Did either of you? I can't imagine that you did, but did you go back and look at Bobby Lashley's shirt?
No.
No, but I wish I had after seeing your description.
Bobby Lashley was wearing one of his suits, and he was wearing a crisp white shirt. And he does wear most of his clothes a little tighter than they should be to show off his bulging muscles, as athletes love to do, and it's not how the clothes are meant to fit. And of course, I was watching kind of a low-res version of, Dynamite. It's hard to say exactly what's going on. I think what was happening was that the shirt was just kind of gapping over his pecs, as a large-boobed woman knows shirts are wont to do.
It's hard to get a button down, yeah.
The effect was that it looked like he had gone to Ann Taylor Loft or something and bought, kind of a blouse for busty girls that sometimes they'll do a kind of a ruching over the bosom area so that there's some fabric to play with there so that the titty don't pop out. And it looked like it had been ruched for Big Bosom Girl. And that's Bobby Lashley, the Big Bosom Girl.
Love that.
He's a sensible blouse wearer.
The clothes fit his budget and his lifestyle.
Bobby Lashley and Taylor Loft synergistic. I don't think it's synergy. It would just be a sponsorship out. I'm like, Ann Taylor Loft is owned by WPT. Well, congratulations on your titty ruching, Bobby Lashley. Harley Cameron won her first ever match at AEW against Taya Valkyrie on Collision, and later had a backstage segment with Renee where she debuted a Mercedes Moné hand puppet, and she did ventriloquism with it. And the puppet challenged Harley to a match at Grand Slam Australia, and Harley was like, that's amazing. Yeah, I'd love that. And now that we're friends, like, can I can probably use your locker room and I can help myself to anything in there. There's coffee in there. Your assistant. I was like, help yourself to her assistant. Gay. Mercedes herself, the actual woman, interrupted and was like, you're a loser. You're a straight up loser. And losers don't get to ride the money train. And then they kind of ran the bit back on Dynamite. So Harley had the Mercedes hand puppet, and she was announcing there's going to be a Harley Cameron concert in the middle of Dynamite in Houston next week. Or Collision, maybe Collision. And Mercedes showed up again, draped in all her belts, and again was like, losers don't get to ride the money train, and Harley flipped her off. What did you guys think about the hand puppet ventriloquism?
It occurred to me, you know how earlier we were talking about there should be a bit with a really annoying guy who keeps asking for a match and gets turned down? I was like, that is just Harley and Mercedes.
Yeah. And it's going great, I think.
And it's going amazing, great. And I love it. Yeah,
so
this is another thing that I've seen people complaining about complaining. And I'm like, it's so short. Like, it's not. Like, why are we mad about this? Like, I've watched dumber stuff for longer. Like, this is funny. And, like, it's not that much of an investment. So chill out.
Yeah. It makes me like Mercedes more because it's like she's playing it very straight with this, like, silly puppet stuff, which is fun.
I think it's really, like, she seems to be having fun, which is really good for her because she is just a little, like, she just is a little bit of a stiff promo. And so I think anything that she does that kind of, like, loosens her up is great. And I've been liking her more and more and more and more because she clearly is, like, leaning into that and is, like, doing, the kinds of interactions that, like, make her, like, stiffness a little bit of the joke, what I mean?
Right. She's making the best of it. Like, she's taking something negative and making a positive out of it, which rules.
Yeah. Wow, just like Ricochet. I'm so proud of them.
Not a similarity as those two.
Very fun. Chris Jericho had a live New York Minute on Dynamite that led to another brawl between Big Bill and Hobbs. I know many are excited about the meat smacks of Will and Bill. Big Bill. Will.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't
Good
realize.
job.
Will and Bill. Wow.
How have I not heard anyone talking about Will versus Bill?
Wow. The smartest girl in the world? No, you're so fucking dumb. Okay.
Big Will and Big Bill,
Big Will and Big Bill. Anyway, many are excited about their meat smacks. I put this in here because let's start. I'd just like to say, I think we all agreed that this wasn't Chris Jericho's hottest week.
No.
He had put his hair up, and he was back in one of his glitter blouses. It's a jacket, glitter jacket.
And the bags under his eyes were pretty intense. I mean, he looked like he'd had a lot of fun on the Jericho cruise, I thought.
And honestly, the clips I saw from the Jericho cruise did look really fun. And I thought, wow,
I know.
For about the 5th year running, I wish I were fucking
Every
there.
year.
Why is it that, not that I think that we would book ourselves on Jericho cruise, but I need them to maybe advertise it a little more. I guess I could sign up for the email list, but somehow it's always just the middle of January, and I suddenly hear, like, the Jericho cruise is next week, and I think, well, what if I wanted to go? No one told me about it.
I know. The problem is that it's like it goes on sale like in April and May when it's nice, and you're like, I'm not going on the Jericho cruise. And then it's freezing, it's cold, it's dark. You see pictures of Chuck Taylor in his little shorts on the Jericho cruise, and you're like, God damn it.
I missed my opportunity. It is, you do have to really plan ahead, which isn't
You have
ideal.
to anticipate, which I don't think the three of us are very good at.
No, and it is humiliating to go on the Jericho. I mean, I'm sure anyone who goes, it's fun. It looks really fun.
It looks amazing, but when you're
anticipating
8 months in advance or whatever, like
dropping like a couple $1,000
bucks. Am I going to be someone who goes on the Jericho cruise? It's always like, no, definitely not. But then every January, it's like, yeah, I fucking am. I wish I were there. I wish I were on the fucking Jericho cruise. Why did I do this to myself?
Well, it's hard too because you like don't know the lineup ahead of time. Like we really should have gone like the year that Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor went, but like this year looks super fun too. But it's like,
no,
I should just believe in Jericho's booking ability, and
I
we
love
should
that
just
Jericho
sign
always
up.
gets all the newbies. Like the second someone gets in the locker room, he's just like, "Let me book you on the cruise for this year. I'd love to get you on.
You want to go on a cruise? How about the cruise? All inclusive.
I heard you like money because I've got a way we can make it done."
During the segment when you guys were talking about how you weren't trying to fuck Chris Jericho, all I just kept thinking about was this YouTube comment that we got last week that I can't stop thinking about because it's so funny. That someone left us a comment that said, regarding Chris Jericho, I'm not mad at Pod, just disappointed.
I'm not mad at Pod, just disappointed is truly the funniest thing anyone could say to us. And it's like, yeah, that's fair.
That's totally fair. It's like, I'm past the point of being disappointed in myself. I'm like, well, I think everybody feels this way, though. How could you be disappointed in us when everybody feels this way? Everybody's saying he's one of the sexiest guys on the roster. Not this week, but I just wanted to call out, like, because he had, it's interesting, it's like he'd gone back to a different look, and I said, stop. I only want to see Christy Thomases this year. I want tomboys as far as the eye can see. I want guys going girl mode with low ponytails and baseball caps, okay? That's all I want, and I think this should be my year.
Yeah.
Do it for me.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, the other reason that I put this on here is, I think you should be forced to discuss it with me. I need a Jericho Cruise Dr. Odyssey crossover event. I need an episode of Dr. Odyssey where they host the Jericho Cruise, and I need Chris Jericho to be on it. And frankly, I think it's completely doable. Because
honestly, it would be really funny if they were having to solve a crisis on a wrestler cruise. I think that's a world you could really enjoy on a network dramedy. What is the genre of the show? I don't know.
No one knows. Nobody knows.
Nobody's sure. It's not really pinned down. But
it kind of lives outside of your labels.
It's a television experience. The likes of which have never been seen before and may never be seen again.
What kills me about it is that, like, if you think about, like, they're on, like, the employees of this cruise are constantly talking about their jobs as if it's an important calling, where they're like, we need to be helping people on the ship, and adding the dimension of it being the Jericho cruise is so funny to be like,
is the
we
main
are saving people, wrestling fans.
Is the main cast of the show like they're the crew of a cruise ship, and then it's like
specifically they're the doctors on a cruise ship.
Yes.
How many doctors are there on a cruise ship?
There's one
a doctor and 2 nurses.
Okay. Sure.
And it all checks out.
So, like, basically, like, the Chris Jericho cruise, I'm sure, is working with a cruise line. So it's like they could just be staffed to the Chris Jericho cruise.
Yeah, I mean, the storyline of the show is that, like, many places book the cruise, like, you know, for Gay Week or whatever. And so, like, the doctors just go with it. So it's like, this week, it's wrestling week.
And I mean, a wrestling week, you'd have to staff up your medical staff, probably.
Oh, for sure.
I think what would have to happen, not a doctor or an industry specialist, I think that Tony Khan, Chris Jericho has, you know, media stuff. Cope could get in on this. I need a kind of a couple of these guys to just think, who can we reach out to who could get us in touch with Ryan Murphy? And then you get in touch with Ryan Murphy and you pitch it to Ryan Murphy and you just say that it will be a totally synergistic, again, who owns any of this? I don't know. But I think the way I understand it is that basically all media is owned by one secret large conglomeration.
Nestle.
Right?
The Scheinhart Wig Company. We discuss it all the time.
Exactly. So it's like, it just doesn't matter. What network is it on? What network is this on? Shut up. It's all owned by one man. And if we can get through to him, Ryan Murphy, then we can get anything done.
Okay, sometimes we're goofing, but I do honestly think if I managed to get into Ryan Murphy's DMs and was like, I got a week for you, wrestling week, I think he would see the vision.
Chris Jericho would jump at the chance.
Oh, and this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Chris Jericho would love it. He's in a movie right now, so it's like he can say, like, look, I acted in something. I mean, he's acted in stuff before. He was in a Hallmark movie. We all know that.
Comes up for an Emmy.
Yeah, but he's got the acting chops that were born for Dr. Odyssey. Derogatory.
Meant to be on Dr. Odyssey.
Wrestlers in general,
he would leave that scenery a chewed up mess.
I know it. I can see it, and I'm dying for it.
Please. And the thing is, because as Leah said, the way that the show works is that every week it's a different themed cruise. They don't have a bottomless well of themes. Like they're already doing themes that are like, that is the theme of the theme of the week is that rubber ducky thing where they're hunting the ducks. So it's like, just get it in there. The scaffolding is all there. Yeah. And then we just fill the cruise with our wrestlers.
Yeah. Toni Storm was in the Queen of the Ring movie.
She was just in a movie. MJF. Just in that movie.
He gets cut from movies all the time.
All the time. He got cut out of Iron Claw. He's a professional.
Wow. Dude, we got it. We got to get into Ryan Murphy's DMs.
We have to get in there.
It's solid
we can make
gold.
This happen.
And for a medical cruise situation, like a wrestling cruise, is like nothing could be more perfect.
The number of things that could go wrong with these wrestlers.
They could flip right off the ship, you know?
They would. They absolutely would.
Will Ospreay was so drunk in the clips I saw.
Oh my god.
It's not safe.
It's not safe. Anything could happen. And when they film this episode. And guys, if you can hear this, we don't even need to be credited with the idea.
No,
hey,
it's fine.
If you know Ryan Murphy,
please
feel free
reach
to claim
out to
this.
Someone.
Claim this idea as your own. Get it. All we need is for it to be realized. We don't need the credit. Just get it to Ryan. Hey, guys, get it
together.
To Ryan.
We can make this happen. We can do this together. Okay, so that's why this section was in here. And then the only other thing is this Samoa Joe and Hook thing. Should I do this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Samoa Joe and Hook fought Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian on Collision. Commentary suggested that the source of their animosity is that Hook wishes Christian was his father. Okay.
Kind of a burn on Taz, but okay.
I'm going to say it, okay? I know it's not amazing that Christian has his little clipboard money in the bank thing that is looming over us, and many are very upset about it. And I'm also, I don't want him to I don't want him to be world champion, and I don't want him to cash it in, and I don't want him to always be carrying that clipboard, or as they called it, metal document holder around.
Although it would be funny if he just carried it forever. That's true. It's like a prop that goes with him. Because right now, I don't really believe anything's ever going to happen with it. So.
Actually, that is a perfect gimmick. For the next 3 years, he's like, I've got a title shot, and when I decide to
cash it in,
wow,
and he's always screedling out of the way. People are like, Christian, you want to cash it in? And he's like, maybe next week. We'll just see.
And then when he finally cashes it in, that's his retirement match. Hello?
Okay, that's so beautiful. Fucking funny, and it's an amazing punchline for it to basically just be like, I was just doing that to torture some of you for 5 years. Some of you were so mad, and I kept you mad for 5 years. Okay, great. Well, we solved it. Christian, that's a free idea. Anyway, I love seeing the patriarchy, the wacky antics of the patriarchy, and just this ring full of boys competing for daddy's attention and Samoa Joe. I like that. To me, that's entertainment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And on Dynamite, we got a little backstage segment where Samoa Joe and Hook had a really funny little odd couple conversation and then stormed the Patriarchy locker room and beat up Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian while Christian hid nearby and pretending he didn't know what was happening and then cruised in afterwards. Like, what happened here? This is crazy. Who hit my boys?
It was so funny when he poked his little head in and then was like, oh no. I'm going to pretend I was down the hall. I'll come back.
I don't want to deal with that.
I also enjoyed that he had Mama Wayne with him who was doing the exact same thing. And she was just like, my son's getting beat up, but that's not my problem. I'm going to be over here.
My biological son, whatever.
And I love it. It's like this did all start with her being like, how dare you hit my boy? And now she's like, well,
if you want to hit my boy, just don't hit me. I know, and Samoa Joe and Hook are fun together. Like, they somehow make each other better. They're the only way I've enjoyed either of them, just about.
A great little couple. I did say this week, I was like, should they kiss? And then I was like, Allie, that's crazy. Like, it's just like, that was a moment for me, like, the feeling was friendship. But she hadn't experienced it before. I was like, I just like when they hang out. It's just fun that they're hanging out.
But to have gotten us to the point where we're thinking, should they kiss? That's an achievement for those.
We thought
really amazing.
In the dregs of Samoa Joe's title run, we never would have guessed.
No.
But no, their vibe is so fun together, and so I'll be in the middle of the segment being like, do I like Samoa Joe? And it's just because he's willing to do a goof, which he never is all the other times.
I know. It's really pleasant. And then I did just want to, have we said this on the pod before? It just seems crazy that we haven't. But in the middle of the match, when I was thinking about, does who wish who is whose daddy? That wasn't a sentence, Allie, so just don't worry about that. Anyway, I suddenly was like, we must at one point have compared Christian to the mayor from Buffy, but if we haven't, let us do it now. And of course, Nick Wayne is a perfect Faith.
Yeah, absolutely perfect Faith. I don't know if we've ever said it. I certainly don't remember it because I popped for it big time when I saw it in the schedule. It's right. He is the mayor. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally.
And Nick Wayne is like, I have my dad's love, and it's like, you're disposable, but you don't know that.
Yeah.
Right. And your dad is using all of your weaknesses to turn you into a perfect weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so you let us know who you think his Buffy is.
We gotta get some more 18-year-olds in here.
Dustin Rhodes.
I didn't like when you said that. I think it felt a little like we've got to go find some 18-year-olds.
Find some teens.
Barely legal teens.
Oh my God. Wow, another age-based cancellation, but at the other end of the spectrum, girls. It's all over for us. Was there anything you wanted to talk about that I did not bring up?
No, it was such a fun week. I had such a good time.
I had a really good time, and I really needed it. So thank you, TK.
God, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So glad TK's in the weeds.
Yeah. TK said those girls are struggling. It's the dead of winter. Enough. We can't keep fooling around like this. We have to give them mental health. And he did. And it was all him. Thank you, Tony Khan. Thank you for my life. On that note, I've been Allie.
I've been Ann.
And I've been Leah.
This is Tunnel Talk. Our theme is by Chris Corkin. You can find us on Twitter, Tumblr, and Twitch at Tunnel Talk Pod, via email, tunneltalkpod@gmail.com. You can find us on our feed. You can find us on the Social Suplex Network feed, or you can check out some of the other great podcasts on the network. Again, you can check us out on this week's ONR. And shout out to Trish and Sarah for having a Trish and Sarah fan in a shirt in the front row. That was so cool.
That was
So cool.
really cool. That was really
fucking
cool. I was really
rocked.
happy about it.
I felt really, really excited for them and for us for knowing them. You can also find us on the Social Suplex Network Discord, and we have merch now. You can find that at chop-tees.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Stay frosty, my God. And please, as always, come back next week.
I want that episode so bad because I want the twist where it's like, oh, sure, like wrestling week. So you expect that the big injury is going to be like someone breaking their like arm or like falling out of the ring or something. But actually the big injury is that someone has the bubonic plague. You know?
Absolutely. Or it's they do the heart-wrenching music and it's like someone has like terminal leukemia and didn't realize it, and it's in the final stages. And then they're like, the wrestlers are like, well, I guess we have to have their retirement match tonight.
Yeah, or someone like dies mid-cruise and then they have the death tribute match to process it.
Chris Jericho has to explain going out on your back to Joshua Jackson.
It's called Going Out on Your Back.
And then you have like the medical crew are all like learning life lessons about it, where it's like maybe it would be better if we all agree to death this way, like
you know, it's like it's philosophically you should always put somebody over on your way out.
And it's like Joshua Jackson is revealing like something about like his parents' death or something. Like
when I had COVID,
I felt like my mother never put me off.
I felt like my mother never put me over. It's maybe the funniest thing anyone's ever said.
I can't believe we're not recording.
It's still on the Zoom. Put it in there.
No.